Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say there's nothing extraordinary about karma, cause and effect. I'm not trying to say there's nothing mystical or supernatural about the Buddha's teachings. Well, yeah, I am trying to say there's nothing supernatural about it. What I'm saying is, it's totally natural. It's just that to us, it appears to be extraordinary or supernatural. And the reason why I'm giving everyday examples of the working of karma, cause and effect, for example, how we can change the world through ideas or influence the environment by our actions of body, speech, and mind, is because in order to understand the profound truth, first we have to understand the easy stuff. As Nagarjuna famously taught, without the conventional, there's no understanding the ultimate. And without realizing the ultimate, then there is no liberation from samsara. And the meaning of this is that we have to rely on that which we can comprehend. We have to come to understand the natural way the world works. Then we can come to understand the subtle and profound aspects of reality. So yeah, I gave basic everyday examples. What you have to understand is that karma, cause and effect, and past and future lives, is not something that we can prove. We don't have any empirical evidence for this. And also, it runs contrary to accepted scientific norms. But hey, it's not as if only spiritual truths appear extraordinary to us. Much of what is taught in scientific thinking to us seems inconceivable. So many of you might have heard of something called quantum entanglement. And of course, there's no way I can go into any detail about what exactly quantum entanglement is, but the whole idea, to us, seems magical or mystical. The idea that there could be two discrete particles that share a quantum relationship, and that when the state of one particle is changed, then the state of the other, or the pair, automatically changes. And what is extraordinary is that even if these two particles are separated by hundreds of millions of light years, then the change in state will be simultaneous. Now that's hard for us to accept. It seems to be something supernatural and extraordinary. But we accept it because we have faith in science and in physics. In order for these two particles to have such a relationship, then either their connection must be faster than the speed of light, or they are connected in a way that basically ignores time and space. And this is not something we can conceive or comprehend. And it's the same when it comes to the teachings on karma, cause and effect. Because karma, cause and effect isn't just something that affects the here and now. It's not just a domino effect that happens within society and in this world, because our karma follows us from one life to another. Now, the Buddha taught many stories. They sound like metaphors, analogies. It's certainly allegorical. But there was a purpose in teaching these stories. It was for people to come to understand something very important. For example, at one point it seemed that the Buddha had a headache, and the Buddha's attendant was very confused by this, because as far as he understood, then a Buddha has gone beyond suffering and no longer experiences the ills of the mundane world. And so he circumambulated the Buddha 3 times and prostrated and asked, "Does the Buddha have a headache?" And the Buddha explained why this was. The Buddha taught that a long time ago, on a previous lifetime, then he was a fisherman, part of a fishing community. And at that time, he gave rise to joy. He rejoiced in the killing of the fish. And of course this is natural, right? If you're a fisherman, then your livelihood depends upon killing fish. And so it makes you happy when you have a good catch. Anyway, at one point, then the Buddha and his fellow fishermen were all rejoicing at having killed so many fish. And this left a karmic imprint. And so in this current lifetime, then the Buddha experienced a headache. But you have to understand that the Buddha was reborn in the Sakya clan. And the other members of this clan were his fellow fishermen from his previous community. And this is often the case, the way it's taught in the Buddha Dharma anyway, that we are born in the presence of others that we had a strong connection with in previous lifetimes. Now the difference is that his clan members, at the time the Buddha was having a headache, were being murdered. But the Buddha only experienced a headache. And this is because previously this group of fishermen gave rise to a negative thought. They rejoiced in killing. So this is very much mystical or magical to us. Now, whether or not this is actually what happened, the message that the Buddha is trying to give us is very clear. The Buddha is saying that karma follows you from previous lifetimes to this one. And that when things happen in this life, good or bad, then they are the consequences of our previous actions. And there's another similar story that we hear of the Buddha. At one point, the Buddha was walking through a garden, a pleasure grove, and there was a thorn. And this thorn had tried to poke the Buddha. And of course, the Buddha was aware of this because the Buddha is omniscient, and the Buddha tried to escape from the thorn and ran with his miraculous powers as fast as he could. But however fast he ran, then the thorn would always follow him. And so then the Buddha used another miraculous power and traveled to a different universe. But still, this thorn followed him, and there was no way he could escape it. So again, this is a mystical or a magical story, right? It sounds like something that's just made up, something we read in the Bible, for example. But there is allegorical meaning here, and that is that even if you're a Buddha, then karma is infallible. And that if there is any karma that is left unpurified, or for which you have not experienced the results, then you have no choice but to experience that. So what the Buddha taught was karma is infallible, and also karma follows you from one life to another. But these are things that we find very difficult to accept. To start off with, many of us don't believe in past and future lives. Personally, I believe in past and future lives, but I have no evidence of that. And even if I were to remember a past life, there's no way to tell for sure that I hadn't fabricated that memory. In fact, it's a very easy thing to do. We misappropriate and fabricate memories in this very lifetime. But here's the thing. Quantum entanglement is also something inconceivable to us. And if quantum entanglement can work, then similarly there is a mechanism by which karma can work. And there is a way that karma can span lifetimes and also galaxies and universes. But I don't expect you to believe what I say. In fact, I encourage you not to believe in the trite statements of others, but rather to analyze things for yourself. Check it out. When I was a new Buddhist, then I'd heard the teachings on karma, cause and effect. And someone had said that if you want to be wealthy, you should give in generosity. In fact, he gave this advice to businessmen. He was kind of advising people. He was like a mentor. So I'd heard that if you were generous, then there would be results, that you would gain wealth and resources. And so what I did for myself is I tried it out. I was generally not the sort of person who would give money to a beggar. And not because I didn't want to be generous to them, but I had this idea that if you gave them money, it wouldn't really help them. Or if they were a drug addict, they would only spend it on drugs. And also I didn't trust giving money and donations to organizations, because it seemed like a lot of that money would go to waste. I think underlying was this basic stinginess. But then I heard the teachings of the Buddha that if you give in generosity, then you receive in return. And so I started trying it out. I went against my natural instinct, which is not to give in generosity, and started doing it regularly. And then one day, I was walking down the street, going to the bank, and as I was crossing the road, I looked down at my feet, and there was 850 pounds sterling, just lying in the middle of the road. Now, I was quite shocked by this. It was all in 50-pound notes. It's a lot of money, right? I think it's nearly 2,000 Canadian dollars. And I tried to hand it in. I thought somebody must have lost it, and it wouldn't be right for me to keep it, and I gave it in to the police. But nobody claimed it in the end, and it came back to me. I ended up with this money. So based on my personal experience, what I've developed is conviction or belief in these teachings. And it's not like I really understand how this works. But I do have a belief that it's true, because it seems to be true to me. What is taught in the Buddha Dharma is that only a Tathagata, so a fully enlightened being like a Buddha, is able to understand the workings of karma, cause, and effect. And even bodhisattvas on the high levels, these really super advanced spiritual practitioners, aren't able to fully understand karma, cause, and effect. It's taught that a Buddha, for example, understands each and every causal link that has led to the production of an eye print on the feather of a peacock. You know, on the feather of a peacock, there's these kind of eyes, and they're very intricate. It's said that a Buddha understands each of those causal links that led to the formation of that pattern on the feather of a peacock. But in order to understand that, then basically you would have to know everything that happened in the universe up until the point that that peacock feather came into existence. So it just shows how complex karma is. Likewise, if there was no such thing as a karmic imprint, or if there was no such thing as causality, then there would be no real reason for the great variety that exists in the universe to be there. There had to be some kind of influencing factor, right? If everything was uniform, if there was no influencing factors, then why would we have the variation we have in the universe? And if things were only slightly different, and when I say slightly different, I mean infinitesimally different, then the world as we know it would not exist. There may not even be life in the universe, for all we know. So causality is extremely complex. And also, it gives rise to extraordinary results. All you have to do is look up on a clear night at the Milky Way to understand that the universe we live in is nothing ordinary, it's extraordinary. So in reality, supernatural is natural. And the more we investigate reality, the more extraordinary it seems. And I think this is something that troubles a lot of scientists, because really they want answers. At some point, after Sir Isaac Newton wrote The Natural Philosophy and Principles of Mathematics, then scientists came to believe that we'd basically figured it out, that we understood the laws of the universe, and by this, depending on the accuracy of our calculations, could determine the outcomes of the universe for eons into the future. But all of this was turned on its head by quantum mechanics. And now we're very much back where we started, not understanding the universe, and being in awe of the universe and how it works. Many people on the channel have made comments that they believe there is no way ultimately that we can come to understand the final truth to resolve the paradox of existence. And this is very much the goal of our spiritual practice. And it's said that accomplished masters come to resolve this paradox. But it's a long path, it's difficult, and it's fraught with danger. As is taught in the Buddha Dharma, then the first step is renunciation. And that means to recognize that things are not okay the way they are, and that there is room for improvement. And in terms of my own journey on the spiritual path, then several important questions arose to mind. We are told that meditation leads to liberation and awakening. So the question is, what is valid meditation? What is valid meditation, and how does that bring about the result of awakening? And it's my sincere wish that you should progress swiftly on the path and achieve that awakening, that is to be liberated from the mundane world. And it's not like I think I personally have anything special to say. I don't. But I have conviction and strong belief in the teachings of the Buddha. And maybe it's just arrogance or pride, but I also believe that I know a way that this can be communicated to others, to Westerners like myself. And so because of that, then I put in the effort. So that's about all I wanted to say this evening. And until next time, and see you later.